cheap website cost you more in the long run?
Yeah, I think in most cases for sure. I mean, you can get good websites at affordable prices, but if we're talking about like cheap and nasty websites, 100%.
Like the analogy of websites should be similar to when you buy like a brand new car.
Yeah.
So like you don't need to know how everything works, but you need to know what you have.
They want to spend a lot of money in marketing. They want to invest in SEO. They want to do paid social and organic social and SEO and paid media and stuff like that. But they're happy to run with their cheap ass website because they just think like this is it, right? That's all I need.
Take it away.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Sip on This podcast. Today we're going to be talking about websites as a growth engine, what that actually means, how that impacts your business. And just sort of get stuck into that. So for people who don't know us, I'm Naj.
And I'm Emad.
I'm Andy.
And let's get cracking. What do you reckon, Emad? Websites as a growth engine.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot.
Yeah, you hear it a lot.
What does that mean?
Interesting topic. I think when the normal consumer looks at a website, they probably see a pretty facade.
Yeah.
Something that looks good to your clients, that maybe functions pretty well. But does it actually allow your business to grow? And what does that actually mean? There's a lot of conversation that needs to happen behind the scenes that probably not a lot of agencies have with their clients. And it's not because they're hiding anything. It's just a fact of it just doesn't get brought up because people are too in the mix of developing the website, having something pretty put out there. But there is a lot of things in the background that need to take place.
I mean, we see that a lot with a lot of our clients who come from having their website built by purely a creative agency, where it's more in terms of, and look, it's all really important, obviously, the aesthetics and the UX, but then the piece that's missing is the performance marketing piece, whether your website is going to work properly when you run marketing campaigns, whether the tracking is going to work, whether it's geared up for SEO, all those types of things. So I think talking about websites from our perspective anyway, we're building websites that are built to perform. Yeah,
definitely. And to be honest, we always see the same issues, right? With websites that get brought to us and people want to kick off their marketing.
Always. The thing with the client is
getting triggered.
It looks pretty. And they see it and they're like, oh, this looks amazing. This is great. And then when you start running the marketing, you're like, oh, why aren't we getting leads? Why aren't we getting sales? You're like, because it looks pretty. It doesn't actually work.
Yeah, it takes 10 seconds to load.
10 seconds. Well, even if it loads fast, I mean, messaging, top half of the page. And on mobile, you've got even less space.
Yeah.
So like, are you actually getting your point across in that design, or is it just, this looks great, this showcases what we can do from a design perspective, we think it looks pretty. And design's subjective.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people also ask us why we use landing pages a lot, especially for paid campaigns. And a lot of the times, people come to us with these types of websites that are just not going to convert, right?
And that's exactly it. Landing pages are a major benefit because you can focus on exactly what it is that you're trying to get customers for, either for leads or purchases or downloading content. You can actually funnel them down a path with all the information they need and convey the message correctly. I do think there is a place for pretty websites. I think
it can't not look good.
No, it's got to look good.
It's got to look good, but it's also got to, underneath the hood also has to work and function the way it does. I mean, the amount of sites that come through our agency with, firstly, let's just start on URL architectures. How many issues do we see with URL architectures and websites?
Yeah. How many people have lost their rankings before they've contacted us because their SEO migration wasn't there?
So many.
Yeah.
So many. And it's the simple stuff.
And it's
301s. How many 301s have you worked on in your time?
Too many. Far too many. It's something that's never looked at. SEO isn't looked at. Tracking isn't looked at. It used to be when I first came into agencies, you'd be like, doesn't matter how it's built as long as the client likes what it looks like.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, but that's not the point. You've got to do a good, you can do a good job and make it look great. But if you forget everything else behind the scenes, it'd be like building a house out of cardboard. The cardboard's got a really good picture on the front, but behind the scenes, it's It's rubbish.
Yeah.
Well, not rubbish, but it's not just been thought about properly.
I get it.
Yeah.
So touching on the SEO piece in terms of, I mean, that's one sort of function why a website should perform, right? What are some of the sort of built-in features that you would expect a growth engine sort of website to sort of have in terms of being able to perform organically?
I think you would start off with the very bare essentials, the very bare foundations.
Yeah.
And I would always start off with core web vitals.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Speed's still a huge issue, right?
Speed's massive.
Yeah, especially with a lot of bloated websites, a lot of CMSs that come jam-packed with a million plugins, a million themes, sort of bits and pieces like that. It might be easy for like a marketing manager or a business owner to make some changes, but the trade-off, the big cost in that is a mega bloated website that's got huge amounts of unnecessary code that you have to load.
And not just code, imagery, videos, just uncompressed images, images with no alt tags, no descriptions, just starting from the very foundations and the basics of building it up. To get it to work from an SEO standpoint, it needs to load fast, otherwise it's going to affect your rankings. You need to have the descriptions and alt tags and things behind imagery, image compression. It's all got to be in there. If you skip something, you're going to pay for it at some point down the track. And sometimes it's harder to come back and start fixing it once you're up and running.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something that gets overlooked as well is, a lot of websites that we see have caching plugins installed in them. Where most websites we look at are WordPress. So they do have their own caching, but how often do we have to go in from a server-side level and implement server caching?
So this is the thing. This is sort of like where I kind of like sit with this, because like I see like the hosting, the web development, the marketing, it's all like one sort of system, right? And that's where we sit as an agency. That's sort of our sort of sweet spot. So when you have the server architecture with the right resources, powering your website from a server level, and then you've got the right technology from a systems from a software level in terms of, I mean, we're predominantly Lightspeed. We do a lot of Lightspeed caching, a lot of optimizing on that. Those things sort of connect and work together to sort of amplify. And then you're doing the extra pieces on top in terms of getting really good core web vital scores. You're taking out unnecessary JavaScript that doesn't need to load. You're obviously minifying and compressing and sort of doing all that. But it's when you have the whole thing working systematically, that's when you're going to get the best results.
Yeah, definitely. And it takes a lot of testing to work out what actually works.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of websites come through. We worked on one not long ago, and they had Cloudflare turned on, and they had every single feature of Cloudflare turned on. And they had one specific feature which converted the email address, the written email address in the footer. It added some CGI hash or something to stop spammers sort of getting to it. But what that actually did is it created 404 errors. And there was, when you ran your website through like audit checkers and stuff, there was 750 404 errors just generated from the little email in the footer, because the client had just gone through and said, just turn
them on. Must be good.
Switch it all on.
So it's use case, isn't it? Not everything is for everything. You can't just turn everything on and go, job done. You have to actually analyze it, see what's working, go back, turn something on, turn something off. Like you can have presets that kind of work, but they're bare bones. You have to go in and manually tweak things from a caching perspective. And there's nothing worse when all the systems are working together like we do, where we're talking hosting, so your server environment, the website, caching, CRM, the whole thing working together for marketing. And then we get a client that's like, I've got my hosting on GoDaddy. And you're like, no.
It's over.
It's over. It's done.
Before it started.
Before it started.
We shouldn't say that.
No, we shouldn't. It does have a place in the market, but unfortunately, I think the way they've positioned themselves as they're the best thing out there. So they get all the people starting out, and then you end up being like, oh. And now a lot of it is I've had a few WP engines recently where they're hosted on that.
Yeah.
And people are like, make these changes, or we want to do this. And then you're restricted with what you can add, what you can do, what caching plugin you can use.
Yeah.
So there's all environment based issues that you can run into if it's not set up properly.
Yeah. I mean, you touched on CRM a bit there. That's obviously a hugely important factor in terms of a growth engine.
Absolutely. Like growth engine, we're talking websites, but growth engine is all the parts working together.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, website is one thing; it's your face, it's how you get seen. But how everything else works behind the scenes, you need every piece of that working together. Otherwise, the engine doesn't work.
Yeah. So what are the types of sort of features and integrations that that a business can apply to the website in terms of hooking up a CRM and personalizing and sort of getting more out of their website rather than just a pretty brochure?
Yeah, good question. I think with CRMs, at the very basic of everything, it needs to capture your inquiries from the website.
Yeah.
You have to capture the inquiries, have them feed through the CRM in real time, and then also have the marketing parameters feed through with that, so you know where that inquiry came from.
All the source data attached to the contact.
Exactly. It's a really really common problem that we face is a lot of clients come to us and they're often working blind, where a lot of their inquiries from their website get pumped into the CRM and they don't have any source data attached to them for various reasons.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Is it hard to attach all the source data to it?
It's not hard, but it's complicated when there are other systems involved.
Yeah.
So we've worked with clients where they don't just have a CRM. They might have a CRM. They might use something else for messaging. They might use something else for email marketing. And often, if the two systems don't talk to each other, especially we find that in the tradie space. So you sort of man in a van type businesses that run specific service-based software to actually do their quoting, they want to connect that to a marketing CRM.
Yeah.
And if those two don't particularly talk to each other, we can always get them to talk in some capacity, but those systems might have certain limitations where they can't pass that data back to the CRM. So you're missing that piece there. And that's a really, really common thing that we face.
How can you connect them? Like things like Zapier help?
Yeah, Zapier help. A lot of them might have webhooks where you can sort of custom connect. So for example, if you're running a HubSpot as a CRM, they have an API. Another service-based platform might have an API. You can have the two talk together, whether you use Zapier, whether it's custom coded. We use
native plugins.
Or native plugins. Yeah, some have native plugins. We use Zapier a lot. And we try and use native plugins mainly for the peace of mind with native plugins. Like the last thing you want is to find that a connection's broken and client hasn't been receiving their leads, or leads aren't flowing both ways, and you're relying on another piece of the puzzle.
Joe Blogs has found the issue and decided to build a plugin, and now no longer cares about the issue or maintains it. And then you're like, right, we've leveraged that, and now it's broken.
So I think that's the first thing. Is having all your systems talk to each other, having your leads flowing in, and having all your data at your core set of data.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once you have that, then obviously we touch into reporting, customization of content, personalization, things like that.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty key sort of area as well, right? In terms of especially if you're running sort of you know exactly who you're targeting, and you have sort of siloed sort of marketing campaigns, is having personalized content on your website, and you really can't achieve that without some type of CRM in the background that's connecting to your ad platforms and feeding the right information to the right user.
You kind of get quite a few times where a business thinks they know their customer, but they actually don't.
Yeah.
So having a CRM, you're collecting all that data and building information on who your customer actually is, what they're actually looking for. And then quite often you'll probably find a business is surprised that they think it's A, but it's actually B. You're like, this is our customer.
Yeah.
Happens often.
Yeah, it does happen a lot.
It happens a lot. But I would say that any business serious about scaling has to have those basics done right. Has to have the website done right. the foundational aspects of it, whether it's caching, then obviously CRM done right, and then the next thing that I would say is tracking. Tracking is a big one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Tracking, and on top of that, I would have a look into some type of I know what you mean in terms of tracking, but also like performance sort of tracking. So like things like UX tracking and sort of heat mapping, so you can continuously improve the website rather than just like a set and forget. I mean, that's the real difference, right? If you just have a brochure website that sits there forever, your business isn't really generating value from that, right? It's the first thing that really people see,
If you don't have one, you technically you don't exist.
Yeah.
But you've got to do it from the outset. You've got to get it right. It can be quite hard to do because there are people that come into this that want a website that don't know where to look, who to look for.
Yeah.
And they get led down the wrong path and promises this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And that's when you go cheap with a website. And then you get hit with other issues of it's not done with like a marketing engine, or at least the forethought that you may go down that route so you can grow your website, you can scale.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of hear that a lot now, especially with the rise of AI, in terms of like, if you're not really serious about marketing, most companies, probably smaller ones, would look at their website as a commodity, right? You can spin one up with a website builder, with a quick AI sort of builder. Like that's not sort of the level that we're sort of talking about. But the difference is that if you are actually serious about marketing and putting dollars behind a marketing budget, those types of sites is just not going to work. And sometimes like it seems really obvious, but you'll be surprised how many people like miss that whole point. They come in and they want to spend a lot of money on marketing. They want to invest in SEO. They want to do paid social and organic social and SEO and paid media and stuff like that. But they're happy to run with their cheap-ass website because they just think like that this is it, right? That's all I need.
And I think that's the initial conversation that you need to have with your client is, what are you looking to achieve out of this? What are you looking to achieve out of your business online as well? I've had people come through and they said, look, all our business is predominantly offline. We're B2B. We have all our clients already there. We don't want any more clients. We don't want to market. We just want to face online. No problem.
Yeah.
That's a solution within itself. You can get away with a great, cheap-looking website that doesn't cost too much money and serves its purpose. But you get other businesses that come through and they have ambitions to be a $50 million or $100 million business, and you're like, okay, show me what you got, and it's a one-page scroller.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, this is not going to cut it.
Or a 10-year-old website built in Joomla or something.
But why? I spent so much money on this 10 years ago. Why isn't it going to cut it now?
Yeah.
So you need to have that initial conversation.
Yeah.
How fast should my website load?
If we go by Google's Lighthouse and indexing, you're looking for less than 2.5 seconds.
2.5, okay. And what do you think are the core sort of things you can do to make it load faster if it is loading too slow?
That's where you're going to look at caching, image compression, whether you're using a large video, because it's all looking at the top of the fold, and it's going to predominantly look at images, CSS, and videos, and they're the ones that are going to cause slow load times.
Awesome.
So, what are the key elements that turn a website into a growth engine?
Yeah, good question. Actually, quite a few. First off, you need to have a good converting website. A lot of conversion points, needs to be fast, needs to be nimble, needs to have, obviously, going back to conversion, really good historic conversion rates that you can actually improve on and grow. On top of that, you need to have all the back-end infrastructure in place. So your CRM's in place, all the right tracking mechanisms. So whether, we like to use Google Tag Manager here internally. So whether you're using Google Tag Manager, hosting all your pixels, hosting all your tags, I highly recommend not to put every single tracking code in the website individually, have it in some kind of tag management. And then the last thing would be having all your analytics in place,
solid.
Knowing what your baseline metrics are, knowing your seasonality for the website as well. Like if you're going through a particular point of the year where just performance isn't there, don't jump the gun and think it's necessarily the website. Go back and work out if it's a seasonal dip. Will a cheap website cost you more in the long run?
Yeah, I think in most cases for sure. I mean, you can get good websites at affordable prices, but if we're talking about like cheap and nasty websites, 100%. Because what's going to happen is when you start marketing, when you start advertising, that website is not going to perform as well as a really good website. Yeah. So what you save in the beginning paying for a website, you're going to cop it on the other end when you're marketing and you're advertising, and your cost per acquisition is going to cost a lot more.
Yeah, well said.
What do you think businesses can do to sort of self-assess and to sort of have a look in and just see if they have, like a decent website besides the way it looks, or a site that, that can actually be a growth-powered website?
Yeah, good question.
I think that's actually quite hard for a lot of clients, because they, like, if they're a lawyer,
yeah,
that's what they specialize in.
Yeah,
like I don't do law.
Yeah,
I don't pretend to.
Yeah,
so I don't. If I talk to a lawyer, that's a speciality. So if they come to somebody to do web, they kind of rely on that person. This is what you do. This is what your interest is. This is what you do for a living. You're going to put your best foot forward for me. So it can be quite hard for them to actually do it. But I would always say, if you're ever unsure, engage a third party. So can you have a look? Yeah. You often get sledging, which isn't fair, but you can find people that are honest.
I think there's some like just universal truths. Like for example,
simple questions.
What's your conversion rate?
Yep.
Do you even know? Is it tracked? What is your conversion rate? What's your loading speed? What's your sort of
there are
scroll lengths, your sort of click through times?
Yeah, there are very simple questions you can ask your web
How many leads has your website generated you this month? Yeah. Does it work? Have you ever got a lead from it?
Yep.
I've had friends that own small businesses who went, I tried advertising, it doesn't work. Yeah. Spent thousands of dollars, got no leads. I was like, did you have any tracking set up? What's that? You're like, right, okay, there's a problem.
Yeah.
How do you know you got no leads?
Yeah, how do you know you got no leads if you're not tracking it in the first place?
I think it's just asking the simple questions.
Yeah.
And also like things like, go and ask your web developer, when's the last time my website was updated?
Yeah.
Security is a big thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? A lot of people forget that things like WordPress need to be maintained.
Oh.
If you get a WordPress website and you just ask your developer, do they maintain it? If they don't maintain it, there's a problem there already. You can end up running into problems.
Well, there's going to be a security problem, but there's also going to be a problem with you wanting to do work later on down the track. Often if they're old enough,
of course,
you just got to chuck it out and start again. Yeah, you got to chuck it out and start again.
I like to use, like, the analogy of websites should be similar to when you buy like a brand new car.
Yeah.
So like you don't need to know how everything works, but you need to know what you have.
Yeah.
There's some people that don't even know what system it's built on, whether it's been updated. Like if you went to the dealership and you bought a brand new car, don't you want peace of mind that car comes with a 5-year warranty and you're covered for 5 years? Just ask the basic questions. What's it built on? How often does it get updated? Are my security plugins up to date? Do I have tracking? Yeah. They're your foundations, really. So just have a little bit of knowledge around them. We had someone that came to the agency not long ago, and they didn't really have an idea of the system their website was built on. It was WordPress, but they knew how to log into it. And they wanted to redevelop it themselves, and they used AI. And they actually had AI code up a new website that they pasted into WordPress.
Well, just use it like a HTML editor and chucked it in.
Yeah, so it was like a website
HTML block.
It was a website within a website. And we sat back and looked at it.
Why is my site not ranking very well? Well, let me tell you, AI is a great tool, but you have to actually know how to use it.
But you have
2 websites in one.
In one.
Right.
That's awesome. Double the website. He's doing twice as well.
Double the leads.
That's awesome. I think I know who that was too.
Yeah.
No names. But and again, that's somebody that. This is a problem I think we're going to have in the future with AI. I've had it recently. Friend of mine, can you launch this app on the App Store? My friends and I built it with AI. And I'm like, has it gone through all the checks and balances that need to be in place to launch an app? Yep. All right, I'll try and do it for you. Shut down. There's no website. There's no website URL. There's no privacy policy. Yeah. You've got these issues. And I'm like, just because you can doesn't mean you should, or you should engage in somebody that knows.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other rabbit hole with AI that I sort of get that a lot. But I mean, you know, you can paint your own house.
Yes.
Do you really want it? Is that the best use of your time? So there's a lot of questions like that I get in terms of, you know, we're obviously very heavy in sort of AI here, but that's probably another podcast, boys.
It is.
I think it is.
But when you talk about that, is it anybody can build a website? People can do it. There are the tools out there. There are drag and drop editors for WordPress. Yeah. And does it fall into the case of, is it the best use? They're like, oh, you do my website, you do my marketing. And they may not think it's in their best interest to sort of ask all those questions.
Yeah.
And that's why we get the pitfalls of a bad website or bad tracking, no tracking, and bad marketing, no CRM, because their core focus tends to be their business, and they.
But that's what really a growth website should be. It should be aligned to your growth business. It should be succinct with your sort of growth objectives, your business objectives.
The word
and when
growth,
it's not, then you just have a brochure.
You just have a brochure,
digital
website.
Brochure,
and everything else falls by the wayside, and then you're left scratching your head, going, "Why do I not have loads of leads?
Yeah, why
is this not working?"
Yeah,
I think there needs to be more people that focus on the multitude from a marketing perspective, not just, well, we're a design agency. Yeah, okay, but I mean,
I think those kind of days are over.
Are going. I definitely think that.
With how fast everything is, your whole digital ecosystem needs to be pumping. You know, it needs to be firing as one.
Yeah, 100% it does. It's essentially we go back to what we sort of mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, the growth engine. Like it's an integral. The website is an integral part of the engine. You need it to make it all run, but everything needs to run as one.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it comes down to. If there's one sort of weak link, well, you're going to feel that
100%,
one way or another.
If you're greasing the wheels, you can start making horrible noise. That you're like, what's that?
Yeah.
But
so give us some quick takeaways. What can people do? How can they sort of find out? I mean, we did discuss asking your sort of web developer, but are there any sort of tips? Is there any sort of parting wisdom that you guys can sort of impart?
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think there's a lot of free tools out there that you could just go on and use and have that as almost a catalyst for a conversation to have with your web developer. I mean, there's Google's PageSpeed Insights, which are free to use. Go if you just Google PageSpeed Insights, go there, put your URL in, find out what your score is on all the different metrics.
Yeah,
take that to your web developer, and you got to remember, it's not something to bash your current web developer over. It's something that, how can we work together to make these a little bit better, just so I have a better growth platform.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and there are tools like Pingdom and things like that we've used. I think from my end, it would be more in terms of like business sort of orientated, just asking yourself the question, just the really simple questions. Does my website work? How many leads has it sort of generated me? You know, am I getting inquiries and people mentioning my website? Does it tell my story? Can people go on there and find everything? Does it showcase who we are, what we stand for? Does it clearly articulate our products and services?
Yeah, definitely.
Do I have access to my own analytics?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many times that they don't, and they have no idea if they're getting any traffic. And I mean, I'd always ask for some sort of training. From your developer, either on your website, like, where can I get my analytics login? Can you just show me around what I'm looking for? You've paid for it. Why not?
It's just the simple stuff, really. And when you have that in place, then maybe you can look at stepping it up, where we can look at, installing something like Hotjar or Mouseflow, and then actually watching some sessions of some actual users using the website. And just sitting back and seeing how they interact with
really
it.
good tools. I've been really
getting
stuck into those for our own website, because a lot of them let you record sessions, but segment them based on traffic. So if you're spending money on Google Ads, you could go down that path and look at those recordings and look at those sort of scroll lengths and compare that to organic users. And then it would actually be really useful information to go back to the broader marketing team. And
take that back to them and just work out how you can improve it.
Yeah.
And it's just basic things like that, like just, investigate, know what's going on, know what you have, and then you can lay out a plan for growth.
Nice. Cool. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. Anything else?
No, it's all good. I think I'll save my ranting and raving.
Are you still triggered? Or
I'm always triggered.
No?
Triggered?
You're doing well?
We've used the words GoDaddy, Squarespace, website, speed. It's just, I'm triggered by it all.
We'll wrap it up before it gets ugly there. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for
you
joining
so
us for
much.
another episode of Sip on This, and stay tuned for the next one.
Cheers.
Thank you.